We have Tiassa Mutunkei joining us. She is a Kenyan wildlife conservation activist currently studying wildlife conservation at the African Leadership University in Rwanda. So as a self-confessed wildlife warrior, Tiassa is the founder of a youth-led movement, Teens for Wildlife, which is a space for African youth, specifically Kenyan youth, to learn, explore, discover, and value our wildlife and commit to taking action to protect it. She was also recently named a National Geographic Young Explorer. So I'm going to bring her in with us now. Hey, Tiassa, how are you?
Hi, Joe. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for just this amazing day and happy Biodiversity Day.
Yeah, I mean, we're just pushing buttons. It's everybody else who we're bringing in and who is sharing such amazing stories and hope and just showing us some of the amazing biodiversity on our planet. And you are just doing an amazing job of getting youth excited about wildlife and, you know, giving them a platform too. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Sure, thank you so much. Yes, I'm just gonna hop right in.
Yeah,
okay?
Go for it.
Sure, let me share my screen. 1 second. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Not yet. Share.
Not yet.
Here. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I hope so. But let's just.
Okay, let's try and walk through it because I didn't see it load up yet. When you hit the share screen, did you get an option to do your whole desktop or your entire screen?
Entire screen cancel.
Yep.
Let me just do that again. So I press entire screen, right?
Yeah, that's the best one. And then you'll see there's kind of a little window. If you click on it, the share button will turn on underneath it.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that looks good. I see it coming.
Oopsie. Okay. Can everybody? Yep. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tiassa Mutunkei. As Joe said, I am the founder of Teens for Wildlife. So just to get into it, I'm 20 years old. I love my friends. They are my life, my family, and I just really enjoy life. I'm, yes, a first-year student at the ALU studying global challenges with a focus in wildlife conservation. But my other love is animals. I absolutely love elephants. They are my spirit animals specifically. And I found my love for these animals. I mean, they've always been a part of me ever since I was such a young girl. When I was in primary school, I was called the animal girl. And this is because while my friends were, outside playing with their Barbie dolls, I was digging up dirt, looking for worms and caterpillars and butterflies because I was just so interested in them. I've had a variety of pets. I've had lovebirds. I've had my best birthday gift, which was a chameleon when I turned 9 years old. I've had fish. I've had a dog. His name is Zazu, and a cat. His name is Kovu. And I hope you've noticed the theme of Lion King, just how entrenched this love for animals is. But yes, just always been a part of me. But I went and did more research trying to figure out how do I get to understand these animals and learn more about them. And through like National Geographic or Animal Planet, when I was younger, I came across the shocking fact of how fast we're losing our wildlife. And specifically what stood out for me, because my favorite animal is the elephant, is that we lose 96 elephants every single day here in Africa. And I was heartbroken. It was just a terrible, shocking fact. And I went to school, talked to my friends about it, and they didn't know. Which was so shocking to me, is how fast we're losing our animals, and people don't know about it. People are not talking about it. People are just not aware. And that's when I was at the age of 14, I started my movement, Teens for Wildlife, which is a space for African youth, specifically Kenyans, to come together where we're able to share our thoughts and ideas on how we want to take the future of our wildlife, how we want our environment to be in the future, because I feel like it's time for us as young people to step forward and be part of these conversations about the future of conservation. And so basically our mission is to connect our peers and children to wildlife, encouraging them to, join this conservation, this fight for conservation, be part of it, and it is part of our heritage. I always say that, when people think about our continent, Africa, think about Kenya, they say, oh, the Masai Mara, Amboseli. There's always that link to these animals and wildlife. But when you sit back and think, not many young people like me from Kenya actually know much about it. And so we are that bridge that's linking our wildlife and young people together. And so we've done many of the things. We've walked at the Global March for Elephants, Rhinos, and Lions. We have talked about saving our big cats. And we are taking a stance and saying, we are not going to allow for our wildlife to lead to extinction. We are not going to be the generation that will tell our children, I don't want to tell my children and my grandchildren that, when I was younger, we were losing 96 elephants every day and I did absolutely nothing about it. I feel like it's time and for us to take a stance. And that is, when more people hear about it, so many people have reached out to us as Teens for Wildlife and say, how can I help? How can I join? How can I be a part of this? We say, okay, come for the global march for elephants, rhinos, and lions. Show up, use your social media. But we've also seen that you can do so many different things at such a young age. One of our things is starting wildlife clubs. It's all about, yes, you can join us, but how about you do your own thing? And so as Teens for Wildlife, we have helped start 5 wildlife clubs. Our youngest age wildlife clubs was at the age of their year 1, so they're 7 years old, and they started their wildlife club. And we took them to the national park and the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, the elephant orphanage, where they got to see the baby elephants, and they were just like astonished. They was just so beautiful, and they were like, this is ours, this is from my country, this is for us. And the fact that they were able to touch the elephants, connect with them, be taking them to the giraffe center, where they also interacted with the giraffes, and just seeing that close connection definitely stays with you, because you're learning to connect. And once that connection and bond is formed, you're going to do anything to protect the animals and whatever relationship that you're having. We also have the Green Park Kids Wildlife Club. These were children from my estate here in Nairobi. I got to share with them about, yet again, how fast we're losing our animals, but what are we going to do? How are we going to, talk to people about this and make them know that this is no longer allowed? And so they went to their schools and shared with their friends on what we can do. Is it taking them to the national parks? Is it taking them to Giraffe Center, Mamba Village, the crocodile village, where they're able to once again see these animals? And once that connection is built and that bond is made, you're wanting to fight and be part of this conservation journey. But what we also were able to see is that through raising awareness on social media and TV and newspapers and panel discussions really has impacted the youth voice when it comes to wildlife conservation. I personally got to feature in a film, Mabingwa, which means the champions, focusing on youth and conservation. I got to feature at NTV Wild Talk, which is now just NTV Wild, but it was a talk where I talked about what I do. And one of the most influential experiences that I've been through is during 2018, the UN General Assembly, there was a partnership with the African Wildlife Foundation and Nickelodeon, and I got to feature on a segment on Nickelodeon called Together for Good, where I got to share my story. And right before I went to the US, I asked some girls who I was working with, I said, what would you want me to say? And how do you feel about me going? And And one girl, her name is Tiana, she looked at me and she said she's just so happy that she's able to see somebody on the screen that looks like her and is from where she is from. Just being able to be that person to represent the African youth and a female in that as well has been so amazing. But also our social media, where we're able to share and teach so many other young people, having social media being the way we're communicating. I mean, look, we're having a whole festival online, but just being able to interact has really, really been such an amazing experience for other people, young people like us, to say, hey, I can do something about it. And it goes beyond social media. I'd like to introduce you one of the projects that we're working on as a National Geographic Young Explorer. My team and I, we are working on something known as Teens for Wildlife Champions, because we have now been able to understand that, yes, there's the social media bit about it. There's people from my high schools and the middle class being able to know about it. But what about the communities that live right next to these wildlife spaces? What about them? We do understand that most of them don't necessarily have access to the national park because they have other priorities. And sometimes, most of the time, the relationship with these animals is through human-wildlife conflict. So how are we able to change that narrative? And so one of our projects, as I said, is Teens for Wildlife Champions, where we are focusing on 6 high schools, both in urban and rural areas here in Kenya. And we take them to visit the national park. And hopefully what we're trying to gain from this is that connection and that bond. And through that, we have, these girls and boys from the rural areas living right next to the national park, from these communities, and they go back home and say, I learned about a lion today. And actually we can figure out different ways to still protect our cattle, but also protect the lion. I mean, we have Richard Turere, who used lion lights. He was able to protect his cattle, his father's cattle, at the same time protect the lions by the flickering lights going around in different places. And so there's just so many different ways that we can innovate our passion with his passion for engineering and link it to conservation and protecting our wildlife. And so, yes, just through empowering young people, we hope to raise their voices and say that you can be the voice for these animals. You can be the voice for conservation, environmental conservation, and e-waste. There are different ways, but you can use your talent. You don't have to be in the conservation sector, but you can definitely contribute and impact. For example, I would like to introduce you Imani Ogana. He is part of Teens for Wildlife. He is a gamer and an animator. And so how this came about, his mom, of course, being a boy in this day and age on his PlayStation 24/7, his mom was like, I have had enough of this. There are people like Tiassa doing these amazing things. How can we get him to also do this? And so we sat together and we said, hey, you're good at gaming and you're good at, making animations. How about you make films and animations about climate change and wildlife and plastic pollution and air pollution? And Imani Ogana has now made 4 different animations, just creating and spreading awareness about the impact of climate change and the likes. And he was also nationally recognized and won an award of $300, which is 30,000 Kenya shillings, just showing how your passion can impact. And there's so many different ways that you can tap into conservation. We also have Tiassa Mutunkei. This is my younger brother. I love him to bits. He started his own movement, Trees for Goals. And so what this means is that for every goal that he scores, he plants a tree. He plants 11 trees because there are 11 people in a football team. And as till now, he has planted over 1,700 trees. He has gotten his his football club involved, he's gotten his school involved. He was just recently recognized as the top 100 African youth conservation leaders. And he also won the International Eco Hero Award. And what his goal is to have a partnership with FIFA, where he's able to put it on an international level and have FIFA also say, hey, how about for every goal that's scored, why don't we plant trees? And through that, we're also tapping into saving the environment for more future games in the future, for more games. We have Mathenge and Sifa. Their love as well, just like Imani's, computers, technology, and stuff. And once they heard about the impacts of e-waste on the environment, such as, like, for example, the rivers, they decided to start an awareness campaign and partnering with different e-waste organizations. As I currently speak, there is an e-waste collection going on right now, talking about how to bring your old laptops, your old computers and the likes, just being able to inform more young people and just people in general about the impact of e-waste, and just saying that there are right ways to dispose of e-waste. And they have collected 1 ton of e-waste just in a span of 3 months, and hopefully today we will be able to get somewhere close to that number. And we reached over 500,000 people on social media, just continuing to create awareness about the dangerous impact of e-waste that's not disposed correctly. And then we have Shiro Ndegwa. So I met Shiro when she had a passion for photography. She just absolutely loved. And I told her, how about you now focus on, wildlife photography, be able to show your work and your love for photography and feature animals in it. And so we've gone to the national parks. During the Global March for Elephants, Rhinos and Lions, she was also a photographer and she volunteered. And she became a 6-time winner of a photography competition with Wildlife Direct, an NGO that's based here in Kenya. And she decided to donate her prize money, to the children from in a primary school who, as we know, due to the impact of COVID, have really been impacted, like they have had a strong impact from COVID. And so she decided to donate her prize money. And so just being able to see that these children, we said, draw your favorite animal. They learned more about them. We also sponsored them, took them to the national park where they also got to learn. They had never been to the national park. So it's back to watering that seed or planting that seed that, animals are beautiful. They are part of us. They're not only for the tourists to come, but it's ours. They are ours, and we should take care of them and take ownership for these animals. Last but not least, we have Tumiso Mathenge. I met her when she was 10 years old. She started her wildlife club, Wildlife Savers. For her 10th birthday, we went to the Nairobi National Park. This was back in 2016. And that's just after the ivory ban that Kenya we were making the statement that we will not be part of the illegal wildlife and ivory trade. And so they saw the big pile of ivory and they said, Tiassa, like, what is this? How is this happening, and why are people not talking about it? And that's when I went on and said, what are you going to do about it? This is dangerous and this is wrong, but we must do something about it. And that's how they started their wildlife club, Wildlife Savers, and they were able to raise $500, and they adopted 10 baby elephants. They were also part of an art competition for air pollution and talking about the impact of on the environment, and they were also able to win $200, which is 20,000 Kenyan shillings. Tumiso has been part of webinars and spoken in news articles, and she's been able to take primary school students to the national park and the Giraffe Center back to educating the younger generation. And so we've done so many things, and at the center of this is why I'm talking about the power of the youth. We as young people, I always say, no matter how young you are, you can make a change, be it through, going and showing, be Imani using his love for computer and gaming to make animation films, be it Tumiso, be it Shiro, be it the boys, Lesane, Imani, and Sifa. Youth can bring their voices together to solve solutions for our future, because indeed the future is ours, and we are taking a stand and saying that we're no longer asking to have a seat at the table, we are pulling our own chair and having a seat at the table. We're no longer waiting for the older generation to pass it down to us. We're taking a stance now because, as I said, you don't have to be some type of age to start making decisions for your future. You should start now because you do have that power. So I just want to say thank you so much. This is such an amazing experience. Do you be your voice? And this is to all young people. Don't let anybody ever tell you you're too young for anything. You have your voice, you have your platform, be it talking to your friends, having a show and tell in class. You're able to have a voice and share your passion and somehow link it to conservation, because in all ways, shapes, and forms, this is our planet and this is our future, and we should definitely take a stand together.
All right, Tiassa, thank you so much. That is such a strong message. And I love those stories that you shared. That's a small sample of this movement that's happening with youth, where youth isn't waiting anymore. They're not waiting till they're older. They're not waiting until they have a voice. They know they have one now, and they know what their future could be like if something isn't done. So it's amazing. You're a real role model with the project you started, and it must be so gratifying to see these other projects popping up as students, work with you, meet you, work with Teens for Wildlife, and then become inspired to get involved themselves.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just really important, and it's so, as you said, it's so inspiring to see that there is that ripple effect. It's just sharing the word and sparking that interest in someone, and then from there they'll blossom and grow all by themselves.
Yeah, and I really liked closer to the beginning when you use that word "fight." We have to fight. It's not passive anymore. It's stand up, be heard. Don't be dismissed, right? Oh, you're young. What do you know, right? Well, apparently more than you do, right?
Definitely. And I have had those experiences where people are like, "What are you doing here? You don't know anything." And I mean, just being young and also as a female, I mean, just the way the world works, unfortunately, there is that, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing." But that's not true. As you said, I do know what I'm doing. I have this passion. I have done my research, and I will be part of this fight. So it's and just seeing how that's unfolding, and people are now listening, which is so incredible. I mean, the fact that I'm even here in this space to share my voice is evidence that people want to listen and people want to be part of this. They just have to have that platform, and that's what we're here to offer.
Yeah. And you mentioned as well, being inspired growing up with Animal Planet and National Geographic. How did it feel to become a National Geographic Young Explorer?
Oh, that was absolutely, I had never envisioned it as a young girl. I never thought about it, but just seeing that was so rewarding and so gratifying, because it says that what I have to say and the story that I have to tell and the change that I want to make is valid, and that my voice is being heard, and just for that opportunity for people who look like me from my continent, from Kenya, a young girl at 20 being able to be known as the National Geographic Young Explorer. It's so, I would have never thought about it in a million years, and I'm completely honored for being part of this society.
Very cool. Well, Teens for Wildlife is growing. What do you see for it? What do you see for the future of Teens for Wildlife?
Definitely the widest scale. We go on to, I mean, I'm no longer a teenager. I just left it a year ago, but still, going on to passing it down to younger generations. I mean, we have like Tumisu and the likes. She doesn't have to be Teens for Wildlife, but she has her Teens for Wildlife. I mean, going on to policy change. What we would want as Teens for Wildlife is to have wildlife conservation in our education system. So it's from the root. We have this mindset that this is ours, that we can protect these animals, and we have to be part of it. So just continuing to be that education platform and that influence to more young people, hopefully tap into just more spaces and be more ground rooted and focus on communities. is our goal.
All right, good stuff. Well, that's just amazing work, and props to your brother. I wish him luck connecting with FIFA and getting the goals for wildlife. Yeah, just great stuff all the way around. Congrats on the 2020 Young Explorer, and yeah, I can't wait to follow along and see where you go next.
Thank you so much, Joe.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can tune into a few more events over the weekend. But for now, we'll talk to you later. We'll see you in another event, I have no doubt. Thanks so much,
Yes.
Tia.